This is just a gorgeous boat, isn't it? Look at it. All shiny and new for $260,000, and it took them 4 months to put this together. A private person bought this. They're doing a lot of boats for just wealthy people these days.
Yeah, it's kind of flipped around. In the old days, they made a lot more of the fishing boats, the lobster boats, that type of thing. They still make those, but now they're making more of the pleasure boats.
Yeah.
They look a lot like this, so I can see why people are snatching them up.
No kidding, right? Well, next up, you know, the warmer weather is upon us. It's a great time to enjoy the outdoors, but it can bring with it some difficulties for our pets.
The next time a favorite feline or canine comes up lame, it may be an unexpected culprit. Lyme disease has become one of the most common ailments in pets worldwide.
New Hampshire is a hot spot for the disease, so producer Cindy Jupp Jones decided to find out what local veterinarians are doing to help animals through treatment and prevention.
Hey Dee, Taylor. Good, how you doing? Want to come in? We can go over the results.
Absolutely.
That would be great. Over the past 10 years, I would say Lyme disease has definitely risen significantly. Probably our awareness has arisen, and because we have a test that tests for it, we now see how common it is in this area.
Half the dogs that come in here have been exposed to Lyme disease. And we know that because every year we test them for the combination of heartworm and Lyme exposure.
Tick numbers are blossoming, whether you talk about New York to Connecticut to Maine to New Hampshire. With the blossoming tick numbers, the burdens are very, very high lately. You also get the tick-borne diseases that come with that.
We know that there's probably 4 major tick diseases that we see: Lyme, anaplasmosis, ehrlichiosis, and Rocky Mountain spotted fever. And I think if you don't test for them, you don't know that they exist. We probably do maybe 11 or 1,200 heartworm tests in the past 6 months. We've had about 200 Lyme-positive dogs and maybe about 80 anaplas-positive dogs, a handful of ehrlichiosis, or the combination of the group. So 200 out of 1,200. Out of that bunch, I would say maybe 10% are sick.
Well, she did have her issues with her balance, her legs. She had a lot of, she was very touchy.
When we get animals in that we suspect Lyme disease on, we see the gamut of symptoms. I mean, we may just see a fever or a lethargic dog. We oftentimes see a polyarthritis, which means many of their joints are swollen and hot with a fever. Sometimes we just see very vague symptoms and they're just not right.
When a dog turns up positive, we can't tell them whether the dog has been exposed in the previous 30 days or whether it was exposed last year or the year before, because these antibodies persist for a long period of time.
One of my friends, their dog just tested positive for Lyme,
Yep.
and they sent the blood work out, and it came back with the number at 600, and now they're not treating.
So for treatment options for Lyme disease, it's a big debate amongst us veterinarians. Because about 5 to 10% of dogs will get sick from Lyme disease, there is a school of thought that, well, for the 90% maybe we just shouldn't treat. And I think that there's a lot of veterinarians who do that. We feel pretty strongly about if you have a positive dog, we do 1 round of treatment, whether they're symptomatic or not. So the asymptomatic dog will get a treatment with doxycycline for a month.
The prognosis of treating them, if they do have symptoms, is very, very good. Most dogs respond to antibiotics and recover fully.
After that point, the hard part is that these dogs will test positive for years. She's been at that number. It's not worse. It's not better, but that may be a number she's going to stay at. So every year when we test them, our big debate is, do you retreat them? And we don't retreat them unless their antibody level goes up, or unless their blood work suggests that they are sick from that disease, or they develop a co-infection.
Every time a dog gets exposed to a tick with the Lyme organism, it's a whole new set of circumstances for the dog. Most of the dogs, unless they're vaccinated, don't have any innate resistance from being exposed year after year.
The vaccine that we use now, I think I have used for at least 17 or 18 years. And I feel pretty good about it. Our clients always ask why do they not have a vaccine for humans, and it's my understanding that there were more reactions to the vaccine than they felt were a success rate using it. So it's kind of unfortunate because I think we see so many clients with Lyme disease.
Because Lyme is, such a geographically centered human disease, I mean 95% of the human cases occur in 12 states. I think the vaccines companies saw on the human side really quickly that this was not a global vaccine. And so unlike MMR and DPT and influenza and rabies, which are global vaccines, they quickly realized that the Lyme vaccine was not going to be a viable business venture for them in the United States, and it was voluntarily withdrawn from the market. On the canine side, many millions of dogs are vaccinated each year for Lyme because veterinarians recognize that that is one of the strategies of the overall prevention model.
For these guys, their life revolves around going out and going for long walks and going in the water and playing with their friends, and so they're going to get ticks no matter what you do. Check for ticks as best you can and treat the dog with something that'll work, and unfortunately the topicals are the only things that we found have worked.
It's always a benefit versus cost analysis, and the benefit is that you have the peace of mind that you're protecting your family and your pet.
I love the animals, I love working with them, but I like educating the client to make the best choices for their pet.